What's up, guys? It's Andrew here. I was just about to go for a run for my 75-day challenge, the second exercise of the day. But before I do, I had a conversation with a newbie investor, a new client of mine, and they had all these preconceptions about what it is to become a property investor. And I was just listening, and I've heard this 100 times. I call it the myths of property investing, about quite a few. And in fact, I've made a list over here that I want to tackle for you guys. So please, listen until the end about all these misconceptions and myths about the property world here in South Africa. So the first one he said was, and he's a youngster, he's in his 20s, so I can see where he's coming from, right? He said, yeah, but Andrew, listen, property, I've been told by my parents that property is only for people that are multimillionaires or people with very, very good paying jobs, and you've saved up a deposit of hundreds of thousands or millions of rand. Now, Andrew, I don't have millions of rand, but I don't want to go to university now. I don't want to do all of that. I want to become an entrepreneur. But my parents said I can't. Why? Because I don't have capital. And I think that's fair for a lot of people. I'm sure you'll agree with me that a lot of people do think property investing, the big buildings and the student accommodation, only for people with with millions and millions in the bank. So guys, like, I call that a myth. I'm the prime example of that. I never started with millions and millions of rands. And in fact, you as whether you're a newbie investor or you want to get started, just know that it does take money to make money, okay? And we'll agree on that. It takes money to make money. Here's what I want to say to you. It doesn't take your money. It doesn't need to take your money to make money. Go out there, find a good opportunity, negotiate a deal below market value. Make sure you've done your research on it, make it work. Remember, money follows opportunities. So yes, it may be that you won't be 100% shareholder of the deal, but hey, it's your stepping stone and you can still get it. So remember, you don't need to use your money. It could be someone else's money. Until a point where you've built up your own wealth, then you can go out there and buy your own property by yourself. So that to me is a misconception, and it is not true. I'm a prime example, and I've got hundreds of stories for you on that. Then he started talking about, but Andrew, listen, there's stocks and shares, and there's Bitcoin, there's cryptocurrency, there's gold, there's all these different. Isn't property risky? And I said to the guy, look, it's not fair to say that anything that you invest your money in is risky, right? You put money into Bitcoin, it could go up, but it could drop, you could lose it all. Stocks and shares, you could put money in today, tomorrow you lose it all. Tomorrow you make a lot of money, and then something happens to the CEO of that company, and bang, all the money's gone. Isn't that risky? And we're having this conversation going, but look, property, if you don't know what you're doing, so if you take what I'll call a property buyer, not a property investor. So imagine this. Let's say you right now watching this and you got a job. Let's say you got a job, you're earning an income, and you got a small amount of savings to pay for your bond attorney fees and transfer fees. And you go buy your very first investment property and you're going to rent it out. But you don't know what questions to ask. You don't understand your offer to purchase. You don't understand the risks involved when renting out a property. What if the tenant damages your house? What if the tenant doesn't pay you rent? And you don't know how to handle that, and you don't have a team around you. Absolutely. Then I'd say that myth is right, because property is risky if you don't know what you're doing. But I'm sure you'll agree with me. Isn't it the same as everything else? If you go start a business, whatever that business might be, and you don't know what you're doing, that's also risky. So come, give me a break, guys. Property is a calculated risk. You know how to run the numbers. If you know what your end goal is, what your strategy is, and how you're going to get there, and the team that's going to support you to get there, and every decision you make is a calculated decision, and you understand the risks, surely property is not that risky anymore. Would you guys agree with me? And if you don't, please post in the comments and let me know if you disagree or if you agree. Some other ones that we're talking about here is that he said, in fact, I had this conversation last week as well. But Andrew, being a landlord is hard. So what do you mean? And he said, yeah, because if you buy a house and then you're going to rent it out, and the tenant calls you about the toilet seat, and and then there's maintenance works, and the tenant's moaning about this and that. And I sat there and I was listening, going, okay, so you want to get into property, and now you're saying being a landlord is hard. So let's again come to it. So you own a property portfolio and you don't employ the right letting agent. You self-manage the property, and now you've got multiple tenants, you've got multi-lets. and you don't know how to manage correctly. I'm talking about lease agreements, regular inspections, how to wear different hats in terms of a good cop, bad cop with your attorney and your tenants. You you make your own bed and lie in it, right? So if you do that, yes, being a landlord is a headache. It is, and you know what? I hate headaches. I don't like headaches. That is why I built a letting agency, and that is why I advise not everyone, but a lot of people go find the right letting agent. Let them take on the headache so you don't have to take on the headache, right? So being a landlord is hard if you make it that way. If you do things in a certain way and you want to do everything yourself and control yourself, and you want to take calls on the weekend and evenings, then yes, that myth is right as well. But guys, there's reasons why you have a power team in place. As a landlord, don't take on unnecessary headache. You bought the property because you want to make money. You bought the property because you want a better life. Don't let that property do the opposite for you. There's certain things that you guys can do in terms of going out there. But yes, of course, there's a bit of headache involved, but you tell me one business. Can any of you write that in the comments box? Can you tell me one business that you've started, that you've got into where there's no headaches, where it's not hard? Here's the thing, guys. Anything you want to do, building businesses, building networks, nothing is easy. So I said to this guy, look, yeah, sure, I've had headaches. I still have headaches today. I've got a tenant giving me my hassles, but I'll put my letting agent in place and say, you deal with that. I don't want to deal with it. You come back to me. So you go to the property, you drive there, you spend your time, you have the difficult conversation. You play good cop, I'll be bad cop. We work together as a team, and I just take the headache away from myself. And another one he had over here, so another issue here was that he said, well, not issue, is he said, but Andrew, the time's not right to buy the property. And I was actually made some notes on that. He was like, the timing's not right, and I have to be a homeowner before I become an investor. Obviously, this guy's had a conversation with someone I don't know he's had the conversation with. But it's not the first time I've had a conversation. Call it, these are skeptical people. Maybe they're trying to find an excuse not to do property. I said, what do you mean timing is everything? He said, well, look, interest rates are coming down now, which is great, but interest rates are still quite high, and a lot of people are struggling. And, what if I buy the house and tenants don't pay? And maybe I should wait until interest rates have dropped. Maybe I should wait for the economy to pick up, because things are changing. They are changing. If you take where we were last year this time to now January 2025, with where the economy is going, and interest rates will be dropping even more, which is cha-ching. And I had a chat, and this is a common chat I have every single month. And I always ask the question, and in fact, maybe you can tell me in the comments box, when is the best time to start investing in property? Can you tell me when's the best time to start investing in property? So now is when the market's low, when the market's high. And I even asked some very, very experienced investors who have been in the industry for 40, 45 years. And they said to me, look, Andrew, the reality is property is not going anywhere. Would you guys agree? Property is not going, it's here, it's always going to be here. Yes, the economy goes up, goes down, people struggle, people do well, but property is always going to be here. If the deal makes financial sense, if you come across a deal, high market or low market, and it makes financial sense, you can buy it at the right price, and you've got your exit strategies. If something goes wrong, then you can, you'll know what you can do if things go wrong. But as long as your gross yields are good, your return on investment is good, as long as the property makes financial sense to you, and you're comfortable, and you've got the team around you to support you, it doesn't matter if the market's low or high, because property's not going anywhere. And remember, property has cycles. Property's got trends, not just South Africa, across the world, right? So if you're really that worried, go there and study the trends, study the market. History always tends to repeat itself in a different way, doesn't it? And I was talking about, look, yes, most young families, they go buy a house, they live in it, they've got jobs, they have kids, and then they decide they want to invest in property. So just because they did that, or lots of people have, doesn't mean that your first property needs to be a home. In fact, what I'm seeing is the opposite of that. It's another myth going, but Andrew, especially the young couples that I meet, but Andrew, shouldn't I buy a house to live in? Move in there, pay my bond, and then then I'll buy my first home or my first investment property. And I said, well, look, there's no right or wrong, is there? And you can do what you want. And I said to the person, What do you want? If you want to buy a home, then go buy a home. But look, if you're living with mom and dad, or you want to buy a property, especially for the youngsters now or the single people, go buy a bigger property and sublet it. So you live in the one room or the one cottage, rent the house out, and so now you've got a home for yourself. You own that whole property, and now you're busy renting out the cottage or the house, whatever the case might be, and you could actually live for free. So when he said about buying a home as the first home, and that's what he should do, I said no. Depends what you want. What do you want to achieve? I said the great thing in property, there's no right or wrong. All that matters is what do you want? Why are you investing in property? What do you want to achieve? And whatever you want, then go out there and do it. So we've been helping some youngsters go, listen, but go do a rent to rent, but don't do it on a flat. Go do it on a house or a house with cottages. Rent the whole property out, live in the cottage, rent the units out, use that income to pay your landlord, and then you live for free. Isn't it a great idea? Or you go buy the property and do the same, whatever is right for you. Anyways, those are some of the myths about I've got to be wealthy, the timing's got to be right, I've got to buy my first home, property is risky, being a landlord is hard. Look, there's a truth to a lot of it. The reality is, guys, you make your own bed, and then you have to lie in it. And depending how you want to approach property and how you want to do property, rely solely on you and what you want to achieve in property. All I want to say, I'm going to leave you with this, is I don't like headaches. I don't want headaches. And therefore, I leverage a team. That's all I do. So my advice to all of you is go out there and just make it happen. Take action. You can keep watching videos. You can keep doing this and that and reading books. Just go out there and buy that next property.